Hello beginners. In this video, we will be talking about main 8 tools required for a DevOps engineer. These are all the practical experience you would require if you wanted to become a DevOps engineer. So these are all tools which would help you to achieve your goals in DevOps job. The first being the Git. Git is a version control system. It is used to manage our source code. As a DevOps principle says, all the things it has to be infra as a code, right? So we need to store our code into a repository. Most popular tools are there. First one is Azure Repos, second one is Bitbucket, GitLab, and a GitHub. These all the things are extended from Git itself. If you know Git, 90% of the same commands will be used all these version control softwares. Only 10% learning curve will be there, but you should be able to manage it. The second being Linux OS and basic commands. As a DevOps engineer, you should be proficient with Linux because 90% of our workloads are deployed in a Linux OS virtual machine or a containers. So I would highly suggest you to understand the Linux OS, few of the commands you need to execute. Those are all the areas you need to learn it. The third being cloud service provider. There are mainly 3 to 4 major providers are there, popular ones. The first being Amazon, second being Azure, and third being GCP. Fourth is OCI. AWS stands for Amazon Web Services. It is this company is owned by Amazon. Second one is Azure. It is owned by Microsoft. Third one is GCP, Google Cloud Provider, owned by Google. The fourth being OCI. OCI stands for Oracle Infrastructure. So it is owned by Oracle. In 2021, how exactly these providers rank? First one being AWS. Second is as usual Azure, and third is GCP. Fourth, it is showing it as Alibaba, but I would suggest OCI. If you learn it, it would be helpful. Next is Terraform, actually infra as a code. So in order to provision our cloud infrastructure, you would require a provisioning tool. Number one popular tool is Terraform. If you learn this, you should be able to work on any of the clouds because it is the same thing we use across the cloud. The second one being Ansible. That is a configuration management tool. So Terraform is used as infrastructure provisioning tool. Ansible is used as a configuration management tool. You build a application, create a resources, and then your custom application you wanted to install as a software, right? So obviously there would be a configuration related to your application. So those all the things can be handled by Ansible. So this is the number one tool. Next being Docker, used to create images and in order to push our images to container registries. So what I would suggest you to learn a few of the main commands in order to create an image, push the image. Okay, only those commands if you know, that should be fine and you should be able to manage. Learn how to write a Docker file as well, because from the Docker file itself you will create an image and then you will push that image to a container registry. Next being Kubernetes. So Kubernetes is open sourced by Google. It was a Google product. Its earlier predecessor name was Borg. It is a battle tested application. It is used as a container orchestration tool. Nowadays, everything is a microservice, right? So it's a microservice world. Build it using Docker, you deploy it using Kubernetes because Kubernetes knows how to deploy it. There are many flavors of Kubernetes are present. Popularity of Kubernetes, what happened was, means earlier, when some 4 to 5 years back, we used to build our Kubernetes cluster from scratch. Okay, and we used to maintain it. Because of popularity of Kubernetes, so each service providers started giving their own managed service. For example, Amazon started with Amazon AKS, Elastic Kubernetes Service. Azure started with AKS, Azure Kubernetes Service. GCP started with Google Kubernetes Engine. Similarly, Oracle has their own flavor called as a Oracle Kubernetes Engine. It is based out of Kubernetes itself. Only the thing is, it is managed service. If you know 90% of the Kubernetes commands and all those bit, you would be able to work on any of these cloud services flavoring, managed services. Okay, so I would suggest to practice Kubernetes using Minikube, and then thereafter build upon upwards, work with AKS with other managed service. If you know the functionalities, the base, you should be able to work on all these managed Kubernetes services. One is CI/CD tool. Our CI/CD tool. So for all continuous integration and continuous deployment, in order to make our build and deployment to dev environment and further up a higher environment, we use these tools. So popular being Jenkins and Azure DevOps. You're working on a GCP or Amazon, right? AWS. By default choices, Jenkins is your CI/CD tool. Okay, if you are working on Azure, then it's 99% of chances that you would be using Azure DevOps itself. So depending on the route you take it, which cloud, go for learning that particular CI/CD tool. There are few more tools are there. For example, Circle CI, Travis CI, Jenkins, GitLab, GitHub. So those are all the things are additional ones. Okay. So if you have a bandwidth and time, you can learn those tools as well. But as a ground rule, if you know one of the bit, it would be easier for you to learn the others.